Hey, and welcome to this video. This is going to be an example drawing that I'm going to do using the tools that we've talked about in previous videos in this tutorial series. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a basic bathroom really quick. And again, we're going to be using the tools that we've talked about. So that will be things like drawing lines and learning how to do different selection stuff, and working with our different drawing tools, working with our snaps, working with layers and properties and moving things around and that sort of thing. So let me go ahead and get the rest of my tool palettes over here. Sorry about that. There we go. And what I'm going to do is we're going to draw a bathroom here. So I'm going to start by making a few layers so that we can keep our objects on. The first one I'm going to make here, we're just going to call this walls. I'm going to turn caps lock on. We're just going to call it wall. And we're going to set the wall layer to be, I'm going to pull this out here so we can see it a little bit easier. We're going to set that to be red. There's no reason why I'm picking red. It's arbitrary why I'm picking it. It's just convenience. We're going to make another one called wall fill, and we're going to make this something that can go with red but it doesn't look awful. Okay, let's make another one here called plumbing. We'll make plumbing yellow. We'll make another one here called cabinetry. We'll make this one green. We'll make one here called electrical. Make that blue. Make it a light blue so we can see it on our black background. Okay, so here we go. We got some layers defined. This should be able to carry us through our little tutorial here. So I'm going to start by making the wall layer current, and then I'm going to draw a room, and I'm just going to use the polyline tool here. So I'm going to select polyline. I'm going to start it at 0, 0. So you can see here we've got a polyline that's coming from our origin, and I'm going to say this is a bathroom that's 120 feet, 120 inches rather, by, it's going to come over 144 inches. Oops. Let's try that again. Let's see here, 0, 0, and we're going to come up 120 inches, zoom out a little bit and come over 144 inches, come down 120, come back over, snap to the end point. Now, like we talked about in the last tutorial I did, tutorial number 8, we're going to go ahead and use the offset tool, and this is the dimensions that we want the bathroom to have on the inside, but obviously that's not what it's going to have, all things considered. So we're going to go ahead and offset here, and we're going to offset 4.5 inches. 4.5 inches is effectively what you get with a 1/2 inch drywall and 2x4 studs. So we're going to offset out 4.5 inches, and we have our room here. Now what we need to do is figure out where everything's going to be. So let's say that our door enters in right here. So we're going to make a door. The rule of thumb for doors here is that we're going to draw a line. We're going to move that line over 4 inches because you need space for your door jamb. You can do 3 inches, but the guy who's doing your door is going to kill you if you do less than that. So we're going to copy that over 30 inches for our door, and we're going to go ahead and trim. And we use the trim tool. Sorry, I was trying not to use my keyboard shortcuts. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually just right click again, and what that will do is that'll select everything as a cutting plane. So I've got that all trimmed out. Now what we want to do is we want to add a door. So there's a layer that we didn't make. Let's make a layer called door. And we'll make that color some sort of orange. Let's see, let's make it a pastel. That way it's easier to tell apart. Let's make a window layer too while we're at it. And we'll make that another pastel. We'll make it like a pastel green. Okay, so let's switch the door layer here. And let's draw a door in. So what I generally do is I say, okay, I want a door. Sorry, again, I'm gonna try and use the, I gotta keep on telling myself, I'm gonna use the tools. I'm gonna use the tools. We're gonna draw a door here, and the door is going to be, we want it to be, we want it to have dimensions of 30 inches, and we want it to be, what, 1.5 inches, 2 inches thick? So let's say 2 inches. And there's our door. But obviously that's not how you're going to have a door. We want the door rotated, so let's go ahead and rotate this object. So we can pick it, and then we go ahead and pick the rotate tool, and we pick our point of rotation. And this one's pretty straightforward because we want to just move it straight back, so we can just click like that and up it goes. And the other thing we want to do is we want to add a radius on that, an arc on that. So let's go ahead. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a circle, and I'm just going to make it like that. And we know it's going to touch that edge, and it's going to touch that edge. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim my circle. So we're going to go to the trim tool here, and we're going to select that as a cutting plane, and we're going to select that as a cutting plane, and confirm our selection and trim everything else out. Get rid of that, and get rid of that. And there's a door. So we've got our door going into our bathroom. Now let's think about how we want this bathroom laid out. It would make sense to me. I'm not a designer by any stretch of the imagination. So if you have better ways of designing a bathroom, please, you're welcome to leave them in the comments below. I'm claiming no genius on this one. Let's say that we want to have, let's say cabinetry. We want to do some cabinetry, and we want to do cabinetry over here. So what we'll do is we'll say our toilet's going to be here. We're going to have a shower, a bathtub here. So this will be a full bath, and we'll have some cabinetry right here. So for our bathtub, pardon, for our toilet, a bathtub, if you're I don't want to think about what you'd be. For our toilet, we need to make sure that we have 15 inches on either side of the center line of the toilet. That's what's required to be able to put a toilet in the United States. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line here really quick, and we talked about snaps in one of the earlier videos. I'm doing a shift right click on this, and I'm pulling up the nearest snap. And again, I can do that by pressing the R key. And you'll see, oops, I just canceled it. There we go. Let's see, it snaps to the nearest. And again, I'm snapping nearest because I really don't care where I'm going. I just want to make sure that I'm getting 15 inches over. Actually, what I want is 30 inches over, really. So I'm going to type 30, press enter, and that's the minimum amount of space that we have to have width-wise for our toilet. So let's say that we want to have, let's say 30 inches. 30 inches is fairly comfortable. Actually, let's do more than that. Let's have this be its own little room. So let's go ahead and erase that. I'm going to draw another line here. We're going to snap nearest, and I'm going to draw this out. Let's say we want this to be 48 inches. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to our wall tool here, our wall layer rather, and I'm going to pull some walls out. So I'm going to go make another polyline. We're going to use that snap and use the inference of that snap and pull that out. And let's say we want that to come out 48 inches as well. Now we know we have a 4.5 inch wall, so 4.5 and we know it's going to come back. And then we can do the trim tool here. So let's go ahead and use the trim tool. You'll see we're using the trim tool a whole lot, and I'm not going to bother selecting anything. I'm just going to right click again to make everything a cutting plane and select that. And there we have that cut out. So we can go ahead and erase that. And let's go ahead and switch layers. You notice we can switch layers here as well. I'm going to switch back to our cabinetry layer, and we're going to bring a cabinet off this wall 24 inches. So let's say we want 24 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a line. Oops, sorry, here we go. Draw a line. I'm going to say 24 inches. And I'm going to draw another line. I'm going to pull this out here and draw straight across. Now, one of the things you'll see me do here in this drawing is I'm going to try to avoid drawing lines on top of other lines. This isn't always avoidable, but this is the best practice because it makes it so that your selections are really, really, really easy to make. Otherwise, you have all sorts of messy stuff going on in your drawing. So this is our cabinetry here for that. Let's say that it's a bit of a wraparound, actually. It's got a bit of an angle here. So we're going to draw a line out from this wall. And again, I'm going to snap nearest on here because I'm just trying to get a point of reference off the wall. And I'm going to come out 24 inches. And we want it to come down 36 inches and then hit the wall again. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. And we can go ahead and trim this. And again, I'm just going to use the select all option and get rid of that, just like that. So now let's go ahead and put our tub in. Now the tub is going to be 5 feet long. That's the length of a standard tub by, I believe it's 3 feet wide. So let's go ahead and get that in. I'm going to go switch to the plumbing layer. You'll notice that it makes it really easy to be able to see what you're doing, which objects are actually belong to which disciplines when you draw with different colors like this. It really simplifies your drawing. When in another video coming up here, I'm going to talk about plotting and how to be able to plot these colors in colors that make sense in your drawing, in your printed pages. But we're not there quite yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line here. I'm going to come out from this. Actually, what I'm going to do is, to heck with drawing a line, I'm going to draw a rectangle. I'm going to pull it out. We're going to say the width of the rectangle. So we're going to go, the length here is going to be 60 inches because that's 5 feet. We can type 5 feet here if you want, but I've done this long enough, I think, in inches now. So we'll go 60 inches by 36 inches, which is 3 feet. And here is our tub. Now that looks like a really short tub for the space that we have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and actually erase that. Let's say we want to do a 6-foot tub. So let's go ahead and put that in and redo this. Let's say 72 inches is our, oops. Got to be 10% smarter than the object I'm trying to operate here. Let's try that one more time. So we're going to go, the length for the rectangle is going to be 72 inches, and it's going to be by 36, and that's exactly what we've got. So there we are, and that should give us still enough space to be able to walk through. That's definitely bigger than the doorway, so we'll be okay there. And that is the basic layout for our bathroom. Now let's go ahead and let's flesh this bathroom out a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset. I apologize, I'm not used to the buttons on the ribbon, so if I go digging around for stuff, it's because I always use stuff on the my commands are always on the keyboard. So I'm going to offset this by 4 inches. Now we're going to pull this in just a little bit. And this way it gives us a bit of a lip around the tub. And then I'm going to go here and we're going to make an ellipse. And we can pick the midpoint of this by finding where those 2 points intersect. and going up and going out. And I'm going to go ahead and erase that line around it. And there's our fancy jacuzzi tub. Let's go ahead and put a sink in here as well. There's probably, I mean, if you're building this, you'd probably put a sink here and a sink here, or a sink here and a sink here. I don't know. And this is kind of just for kicks and giggles. So let's say we want to put a sink. We want to center it on this wall. Actually, we want to center it on this section here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line here, center it on there, and you can tell that we snapped to the midpoint here, and we know that this is bisected exactly in half. So I'm going to go ahead and draw another circle here, and this one's going to be the basin for our sink, and let's say it's going to have a 6-inch radius, so it'll be a 12-inch sink, and I can get rid of that line now. And we want to, actually maybe I'll keep that line here. What we'll do is we'll offset this line, and we'll copy this line here. Actually, offset would be more efficient. Let's offset this line. We're going to offset it 0.75. And what this will do is this will act as our faucet. So we're going to draw a little bit in here. So now what we want to do is we want to take this and then we're going to offset this. Oops, pardon. Getting back with the keyboard commands. I'm going to pull this off 6 inches. Oops. 6 inches is not the right number. Let's say 4 inches. The reason why I'm kind of floundering on this, and we're going to come back to this in another episode, another video, is because the process that we're going through now would normally be done in what's called blocks. You'd be crazy to have to draw this again and again and again and again. So again, you got permission to be excited in advance about that one, but I haven't made that video yet as of the time that this was filmed. So let's keep cranking on this. I'm going to go ahead and say that we want to have a rectangle that we know is going to be that distance there. And it's going to come out, and I'm just going to eyeball this one, guys. I know I've been raging against eyeballing things in this, but just for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and eyeball it. I'm going to snap to that, pull it back to the middle here, and then we're going to use the trim tool again. I can actually get rid of this outer circle. Take that, pull it back a little bit. You generally have a few inches off the sink. Let's see. This is a sad, sad, sad sink. Normally when I'm drawing sinks like this, or anything like this, you actually work off a specification sheet. So you've got all the information there already, so you're not just winging it like I am right now. So let's go ahead and trim this up. And I'm going to say we want to get rid of it. Oops. That was slick. I'm going to undo that really quick. Pretend that didn't happen. I'm going to trim that. I'm pressing the wrong thing, aren't I? I'm going to go ahead and trim this. That was the erase tool that I was selecting. I'm going to get rid of those. I'm also going to get rid of this center line here, so we don't need that. And I'm going to take a line and we're going to pull it off this to right about there. That's a good place for it. Now what I'm going to do over that as well is I'm going to put another hole here. This is going to be a 0.5 diameter hole. So there's where our sink hole is. It's going to slope back. And then I'm going to draw another line here from there to there. And you wonder, why the heck did I do it from there to there? The reason is because we're going to use the extend tool here. I'm trying to use all the tools. See what I'm doing there? So we're going to extend to that line, and we're going to be extending that line. And now we can get rid of that middle line. And let's go ahead and find out what the distance is here. There's a command that you can use called dist. You can just type it in, D-I-S-T. And there's also an option in the ribbon somewhere, and I apologize for not knowing it off the top of my head. It's probably under one of these other annotation things, or it may be an option in one of these other menus. But we're just going to use the keyboard shortcut. We're going to key it in. So type dist, and what it does is it lets you pick a start point and an end point, and it tells you the distance between the two. So this is 1.5 inches. So what I want to do is I want to round this over. So what I need is I need a radius that's half of that, and there's an easy way to do that. So we're going to go and fillet this, and we're going to say, we're going to pick R for radius, and we're going to pick a distance. I'm just going to say from there to there, and now I can pick that point, and it rounds it over. I'm going to repeat the command, pick that point, and it rounds it over. And now all we need to do is trim this other stuff out. So let's go ahead and use the trim tool again. And again, I don't have a whole lot of lines in here, so I'm just going to select everything as a cutting plane. I'm going to, select everything as a cutting. I am getting thrown by the keyboard, the ribbon here. Sorry about that, guys. I'm going to go ahead and select that. Let me just read the dialog. So let's see. Select objects or select all. Select all. Okay, there. What on earth? Oh, it's because we're using extend. Pardon me. Okay, there we go. You guys probably picked that up really quick, but that's what I get for never using the ribbon, I guess. Okay, so there's our sink. That's actually a little close for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this. Maybe use the move tool. I'm going to pull it out an inch. And there we go. Now let's put another sink over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to copy it, pull it over. Now I didn't really care a whole lot about the distance that I pulled that over because I just want a copy of it right now. We're going to have to get it down here. And an easy way to do that is going to be to either use the rotation tool or you can mirror it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the angle at which my UCS, my crosshairs are pointed. So I'm going to type snap ang and type in 45, and all of a sudden our crosshairs are at a 45-degree angle. And I'm going to make this selection right here of just those objects. Remember, I did the left to right dragging selection so that I could get just the things that were completely included in that. And now I'm going to go to the mirror tool here, and I'm going to pull it out, and I've got ortho on, so it's going to snap at exactly 45 degrees, and I'm not going to pick a second point that's attached to something. And I do want to delete the original object. So there we go. That's the exact distance from the front of the sink to the front of the cabinetry there. So let's go ahead and set our snap angle back to 0. And I'm going to go ahead and select that again, and we're going to move it. And this time we're going to move it so it's right in line with that. So there we go. I took the quadrant on this midpoint right here, and I lined it up with the midpoint of this segment right there. Okay, now let's see here. Let's go ahead and put in a toilet now. So our toilet's going to be right in here somewhere. Now, again, I'm just going to be winging this because for the sake of time. The exact dimensions of this toilet are probably off, but you get the general idea. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a polyline here. I'm going to start right about here, and I'm going to come out, and then I'm going to use an arc in the polyline. So let's go and type A for arc, and I'm going to do a second point arc, and I pick a second point, and then I get to select that second point. Now, I've got half of a toilet here. I'm going to mirror this because I made sure to pick it on this halfway point. And there we go. And that is an awful looking toilet. So I'm actually going to fillet these two. This is not the optimal way to do a toilet, guys. But boy, does it demonstrate the tools. So let's fillet this here, and we're going to fillet it with a radius of, let's say, 4 inches. 4 is a good number. And there we go. That rounds it out nice and nicely, a little bit nicely. It also takes the polyline and makes it all a single object. And now what we can do is we can take this and we can move it so that the midpoint of that is exactly on the midpoint of the wall. And then we can pull it off the wall an inch, because your toilet's never up against the wall exactly there. So let's say 1 inch. And there is our bathroom. Super easy. We didn't use electrical, we didn't use the wall fill yet. Let's go ahead and put some wall fill in. I'm trying to think. One of the ways we can do this is with a polyline as well. Another part of the polyline is that you can specify a width to it. So let's say we want to specify a width, and the width is going to be 4.5 inches. So now what we can do is we can pull this out and say, okay, we're gonna, oops, pardon, I forgot, I've got to read the dialogue a little more. It asks you for a beginning and an end width, and it will taper between the two. So let's go ahead and try that again here. So let's say we want to do a width, we want 4.5 and 4.5. So here we go. Oops, that was, man, this is embarrassing, guys. I swear if I drew like this normally I'd get fired. Okay, so it's polyline here. We've already got the width set. I'm just going to start here because it's easy. And we go to there. Now when you're using polylines for this, there's another way to do this, is called hatching, and we're going to get into that in another video. But when you're polylining like this, sometimes it helps to draw lines across the corners here, so you have something in the midpoint to snap to. You'll see what I mean here in just a second. But again, this isn't necessarily the way that you draw in practice, though. Some shops like to use polylines for fills, not other, but that's really just personal shop preference. So we're going to pull this out, and we're going to pull it up, and we're going to pull it over. And you can see I'm snapping to those midpoints that I drew in there. Otherwise, I'd have to kind of eyeball it or do something else. And there's our fill right there, and I'm just going to draw that one straight up, and in we go. Now you'll notice it's the same layer as my plumbing. You guys probably picked that out. So what we're going to do is we're going to select it, and we're going to change the layer that it's on. Let's see here. From plumbing to wall fill. So there we go. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take that wall fill, we're going to actually send it to the back. The way to do that, there's an easy way to do that. You can right click on it, you go to draw order, send to back, and that way we get our outlines. Now I'm going to go ahead and erase these little bits here because we don't want those. But the nice thing about this is that if we were to print now, we could set that to be some nice neutral color, and we could have wall fills on our drawing. So this is a wildly inefficient bathroom. It means we got to have 2, maybe 3 wet walls, depending on where we do things. This is, if I could do it again, boy would I. So let's go ahead and put in a window. So let's say there's a window over the toilet, because by code you need to either have a fan or a window. So what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and switch back to the wall layer. I'm going to, back into drafting mode here. I'm going to draw a line here, and I'm going to copy that line over this way. Let's say it's 18 inches, and over this way 18 inches. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that middle line. And I'm going to go ahead and trim, that's back to my keyboard shortcuts. We're going to use the trim command. We're going to select everything so that we can use those 2 lines as a cutting plane. And there we go. So now what we'll do is we'll go to our window layer and say we want to put in a window, and our window looks like that. There we go. There's our window. And again, the shop you're working in or you will work in might have different ways that they want windows to look. This is, again, just for demonstration purposes. So we have a window in there, we got a door in there. The only thing we don't have is some electrical. So let's go ahead and put a couple GFIs in here by the sinks. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch our layer to the electrical layer, and I'm going to actually just build a GFI block. Pardon, not a block. You don't know what a block is yet. Never mind what I just said. I'm going to draw a box here. It's going to be 6 inches by 6 inches. That's huge. It's going to be 4 inches by 4 inches. Let's see here, D4 by 4. And that's fine right there. And I'm going to draw a line that comes out of it. And this is going to be 6 inches long. There we go. And I'm going to copy that line over. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to have this be in exact thirds. But that's kind of hard to eyeball, and given that we made this 4 inches, that can be kind of tough to calculate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually draw another line here, just right across here. That's fine. And I'm going to select it, and I'm going to type divide. And what we can do, pardon, you don't have to select it first. You type divide, you select your object, and you tell it how many segments you'd like to divide it into. Now if we want 3 points, right, if we want a point here and a point here, pardon, if we want 3 segments, we want to be able to draw a line here and a line there. So we're going to do three segments, and it doesn't look like anything happened. But if you go ahead and select that and delete it, you'll notice there and there we have a point now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and move this. We're going to snap there, pull it over, and I'm going to go ahead and I'll get rid of those points after just a little bit here. And then I'm going to copy this, and we're going to pull it right there. And there's our GFI. So let's go ahead and place that here. So I'm going to select it, and we'll first of all we'll make it so it's up against the wall. And then what we'll do is we'll center it on the sink. And then what we'll do is we'll take the GFI and move it off to the side 12 inches. And we'll do the same thing over here. So go ahead and, we'll copy that here. I'm just going to pull that across, and again I'm going to use that same trick that I did with the sink. I'm just going to mirror this across. So here we go. But in order to do that, I need to change my snap angle. So snap ang 45, and I select our object that we'd like to mirror, and we select the mirror command here, and I'm going to make that our plane that we mirror across. I forgot to say that I would like to delete that object, so I just deleted it manually. And I'm going to set my crosshairs back to 0 with snap ang again. And I'll move this object right here so that once again we're coincident with the middle of the sink. And then I'll move it off to the side 12 inches. And I don't know if these outlets are to code or not, but there you have it. That's using pretty much all the tools that we talked about with a couple little additions to build a basic bathroom. And if this video was helpful for you in kind of getting all the little bits and pieces that we talked about kind of meshed in your head, give me a thumbs up. If it saved your life, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.